These buildings, here's a great example of a building right here downtown that has been rehabilitated. And, you know, reopening those doors and windows, removing non-original facade cladding, using appropriate signage, and then, of course, doing away with the inappropriate canopies and coming back with something that's more historic. Those are just some examples of what those guidelines might address. As far as high priority, we can't see every building be rehabilitated all at one time. But there are some priority buildings, and this was pointed out to us also Monday night. The chamber buildings, which there's already an effort underway to renovate, to stabilize and renovate those buildings. That is hugely important. The other one is the old hotel building. It's something that a lot of people have memories of. I know it's not in the greatest of shape, but it should be a priority because from what we hear, we're going to get into it this week. We just didn't have time, but we hear it is absolutely beautiful inside. And it's something that is highly visible also right in the middle of your town, the heart of your downtown. And it's something that really should be a high priority. As far as the former hotel and what are some potential uses, you may recall from the 2012 market study that it suggested that downtown could support 20 to 30 boutique inn type rooms, and that would be a potential use for that. We've also heard loft apartments or loft condos, which is also a possibility. But I think that something like that right in the heart of your downtown could be a great asset. Tax credits could be available, both state and federal, to help with that rehabilitation. And just in terms of preserving the heritage of your past, there's a picture of it. If you haven't seen this picture before, that's looking up Court Street, I believe. And there's the gallery that was there, and some form of it is there today, obviously not the original one. So it's something that could be reestablished and really become part of that brand for your downtown. Just as another example of how, or places that this has been done before, in Bryant, Texas, where Phil did a plan. When was that? Several 2000. The building that you see here, that was it. After the plan and after the rehabilitation was in place, that's what the result was of that. So when we were talking about removing cladding and opening up doors and windows and so forth, you can see what a difference that makes in the downtown. But this was one of 22 buildings in Bryan, Texas that actually benefited from the use of facade grants, and that happened pretty quickly within a couple of years of the master plan's adoption. It's hard to think about new infill when you've got so much great existing stock and you actually have quite a few vacancies. So again, not to take the emphasis off of preserving what you have and filling up what you have, but we do want to talk about what should happen if someone comes along and says, I want to redevelop the site. How should we do that? This plan needs to guide that. And so just a few of the opportunities that you see along Main there. It's a parking lot now. The parking lot, which half of it, I believe, is the city-owned public parking, then half of it is the parking in front of Coaches. You've got this potential opportunity here. There may be one or two little, small missing teeth opportunities. But, it's not likely that these will be redeveloped anytime soon. But if they were, it's important for that development to be compatible. So just as an example, from that concept plan, we clipped out the Coaches property. So this is Hill Street as it comes around now. This is, you can't really see the context, but we're looking right here. This is Coach's building with the deck that overlooks the river. If someone came in and said, okay, I want to redevelop this property, one way to handle that would be to have buildings that actually frame the street so that you don't have just a parking lot with no sidewalk along it. But at the same time, you don't want to just run that all the way across the frontage and forget about Coaches back here. The Coaches takes, it's great to be out there on that deck and have a view of the river, so you don't necessarily want that to go away, but you definitely want to increase visibility from the street if new development were to occur, and of course parking would be relocated to the rear. This is not anything more than just a concept illustrating the principles that redevelopment would want to have. This is not saying that this site will be redeveloped, it's just suggesting how it should be redeveloped if it were in the future. Here are a couple examples. The one on the left, where is it from? Do you know?
Baxter Village.
Oh, yes, okay. These are actually new buildings. Baxter Village is actually a newer community, isn't it? But the one on the right here, which is a really, really good example, is actually in Nashville, from where three of us here are from. And this is in the Germantown neighborhood. And this is actually a really old photo now. This was done probably in the mid-2000s. But this neighborhood has blown up with lots of development like this. But you can see that, you know, this takes cues from historic architecture, but it's not a facsimile of an existing building. It just identifies, it actually tries to establish certain things like storefronts, you know, the verticality, the placement of the building. And so new infill buildings can be treated in a manner and developed in a manner that's very similar to your historic fabric. And that helps to create continuity in your downtown. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nick, who's going to talk about some of the street and transportation issues.
Thanks, Keith. Over the last several decades, there have been improvements made to the transportation facilities in downtown Wetumpka. But most of the improvements that have been made have focused on the automobile and the expediting the flow of the automobile through downtown Wetumpka, and has put priority on the automobile more so than on the pedestrian, therefore creating environments that are not the most pedestrian friendly or the most pedestrian safe environments. So some of the things that we want to propose is to change that feel and make it a pedestrian friendly downtown. Some of the things we want to do is to bulb out the intersections at the corners. We want to pull the curves out. This shadows your parking, and also create shorter walking distances for the pedestrian when they cross the street. We also want to tighten up some of the corner radii. Downtown right now has a lot of wide sweeping radii, and this encourages speeding and also right turns, unyielding right turns, which is dangerous, which causes dangerous situations for pedestrians. Also, there's a lack of crosswalks in downtown too. So we want to make sure that there's plenty of crosswalks and plenty of opportunity for the pedestrian to cross the street in a safe manner. And at the signalized intersections, we want to make sure that these intersections are redesigned and modified to include pedestrian signals. There's a couple of intersections that we feel are just absolutely key to downtown. And one of these intersections is, I think Keith called it the center of downtown a while ago, and it's the intersection of Bridge, Hill, and Company. Other night at the charrette, we kept hearing people talk about this intersection and realize that it's this is probably one of the key intersections in downtown. When we first looked at it, we thought this was probably a natural location for a roundabout. But as we began to work on the concept and develop the design, we realized that there was really not enough right-of-way to do it like we wanted to do it. So we looked at another alternative, and in reality, it probably works better for this location than the roundabout. What we propose to do is to use a different pavement treatment throughout in the intersection, be it a different texture, maybe a different color pavement, not necessarily saying paver, but maybe some colored concrete, maybe some stamped concrete.